And unfortunately, this is just how America's going to fight the war from now on, okay? So let's just discuss what you need to win a war. If you are fighting a war, what are 3 things you need to look at, okay? And there are 3 things, and that's it. First thing you want to look at is economics, okay? Economics. Second thing you want to look at is organization. The third thing you want to look at is logistics, all right? So what do I mean by this? Well, the first thing is resource management. In other words, you're trying to win a war as cheaply and as quickly as possible, okay? Unfortunately, right now, the Americans are not fighting a war of economics. If you're spending $300 million in military equipment in order to rescue a pilot, you're not going to win this war, okay? So economics is really important. Secondly, is the idea of organization, which is the implementation of strategy, right? So you have a strategy and then you implement it. And here, what's really important is the simpler the strategy, the easier it is to implement, okay? You want the strategy to be very simple because you have to organize it, implement it. So if you're trying to build an air base in the middle of Iran so you can extract uranium from the Iranians, that's not a good organization, okay? This thing is going to blow up in your face. The third issue is logistics, which is just supply, okay? Supply. Making sure that your forces have the necessary equipment, the resources in order to fight the war effectively. And right now, the Americans are not concerned with any of these issues, economics, organization, and logistics. But these are the 3 major issues that you will need to figure out if you want to win a war, okay? And unfortunately, right now, the Americans are too much focused on optics and narrative. So that's why I think the Americans will ultimately lose this war, because the Iranians are actually fighting a real war where they're trying to win the war as cheaply as possible, where they're implementing a very simple strategy that allows for proper organization, and they are trying to maintain logistics, okay? The Americans are just trying to win the war in the most Hollywood fashion as possible. And this is going to lead to disaster, both in the short term and the long term. So the question then is, why do the Americans like this? And unfortunately, the answer is because there's too much cooperation between Hollywood and the Pentagon. All right, so this is a movie, Saving Private Ryan, and this was made in the year 1998, okay? And this is one of the highest grossing films in Hollywood history, where a private named Ryan, of course, he is lost behind enemy lines in Europe, and his brothers are all killed. So his mother writes a very angry letter to General Marshall and says, all my sons are dead except for one, and he's missing. And so General Marshall is like, we can't have this, okay? This makes us look bad. We have to win the home front, okay? Europe, this war front, it's secondary to the home front. We need to make sure that the American people are fully behind this war. So he sends a team led by this man, played by Tom Hanks, to go and save Private Ryan. And they do, but at the cost of his life, okay? And this movie is based on a letter that Abraham Lincoln wrote to a mother in the American Civil War, okay? 1864. And this is considered one of Abraham Lincoln's most brilliant pieces of writing, okay? So the sacrifice upon the altar of freedom, okay? So our democracy, our republic is our God. And our sacrifice is worth it as long as we can maintain our freedom and our liberty, okay? And this is the defining theology of the American military. This has led to the military becoming more of a propaganda machine. Okay, so this is the movie Black Hawk Down. If you saw the movie, then it's about these special forces, Delta Force, that go in and save a pilot when his helicopter was brought down in Somalia. Okay, and this was based on a book by Mark Bolden writing about the incident, which happened in the late 90s. Okay, right. The problem is that this movie is complete BS. In the book, what happened was that the helicopter was brought down and the pilot was taken hostage by the Somalis. But he was treated very well, and eventually he was allowed to go home after the government paid a ransom. Okay? That's what happened in real life. But in the movie, what happened was that Delta Force went in and saved the pilot from those trying to kidnap him. And this goes back to the mythology of no man left behind. Now, there's a very important scene in Black Hawk Down where a general confronts Delta Force. And Delta Force was created for operations like this. And what the general says to Delta Force is, you guys are a bunch of cowboys. And what he's saying is that you guys, you Delta Force, you Special Forces, you guys think you're superior to everyone. You think that we all revolve around you. You think that we should all serve you. You guys are ego-driven. All you care about is glory for yourself. And eventually, your ego, your arrogance are going to be your downfall, as well as the downfall of the American military. This is the movie. This is Jessica Lynch, and in 2003, she was serving in the war in Iraq. And her team got lost. So this is a paper written by Tanner Merlis at Brown University, and what this author talks about is how the Pentagon and Hollywood are aligned together. Okay, so what this paper is saying is that the Pentagon uses Hollywood in order to indoctrinate and brainwash American people to believe that war is good. So that's true, but what's also true is that by working with Hollywood, it brainwashes the Pentagon to believe that war can be like Hollywood. It can be perfected. As long as you create a good script, it will work out in the end. Okay, and this will lead to disaster in Iran. So think about, again, Donald Trump, where it's a failed ground invasion. And so if it's a failed ground invasion, what you do is you go back, you sit down with Pentagon planners, and you figure out what went wrong and how to never make the mistake again. But Donald Trump does not want to admit it was a failed ground invasion, so they made up a stupid Hollywood movie, a stupid Hollywood script, that this was a rescue of an American pilot